Hey, welcome back to the Austin Young Show, everyone. I am joined by Shaun Michael Colón. He is a
Hello.
Texas-based filmmaker, editor, producer, musician, and he's also a certified audio engineer. Before filmmaking, he worked in the music production side of things, co-owned a recording studio here in Dallas, and fronted the punk band Nonstarter, now known as Samuel Caldwell's Revenge. That technical background, I mean, it really helps with all of your work. Shaun was the filmmaker and director of the Fat Wreck documentary, and now The Amazing Age of Audio. Welcome back to the Austin Young Show, sir. It is awesome to have you on.
Thanks so much. I've expanded my resume since we last talked too.
Oh yeah, well,
I'm a audio video AV podcast producer that I work for. I've been working for Crunchyroll doing the Anime Effect podcast, their official podcast. If anyone's a fan of anime, and I'm currently producing a pilot for I can't say who, but it's a Sirius XM a major Sirius XM podcast. So now I'm a deep in podcast production world, as well as doing marketing for Documentary Plus currently. So,
when do you sleep, dude? Like,
well, since I finished the movie, it opened up a lot of more opportunities to actually make money.
oh, well, hey, that actually is a part of your trailer of like when does it make money? So I guess we'll finally get the answer to that.
The answer is indirectly.
Nice. So, tell my listeners, just give the elevator pitch. What is the age of audio about?
Age of Audio is about the history of where podcasting came from and is also a journey into what it's like to be an independent podcaster and a reflection, I guess not a reflection, but a rumination maybe is the best word on the podcast industry as far as narrative podcasting goes. So yeah. So is that an elevator pitch? Are we at first
Yeah,
floor
I mean
yet? Second floor?
that sounded like a pretty good elevator pitch to me. But like
Yeah, so it's about the podcast industry and one guy trying to make it in that world.
now with this one, you in your past, like I want to say, because going back to the Fat Wreck documentary, like your documentaries aren't really always about music or like podcasting. I feel like they're more about the community that surrounds them. Was that your intention?
Yeah, I would say so. It's around the things that make that particular thing special. I mean, with Age of Audio, there's definitely some background on where podcasting came from, but really is more of a dive into the narrative storytelling side of podcasting and the type of people that care about story and audio storytelling in that
Hmm.
sense. Podcasting now is, as if anyone's watching this, I would imagine, knows that it's leaned a lot more into video. But which is, I recognize the irony of making a visual documentary, uh, talking about how great audio only storytelling is. It is its own meta commentary on things. And I do think there's a place for video and podcasting. I think it's good to see someone's face, especially in this type of podcast where two people are having a conversation. But when it comes to audio storytelling, where you're dealing with theater of the mind and you're telling a story that is almost similar to way a novel is, like when you're reading a book, where a part of it, you're a part of that storytelling. Your mind and your imagination are a part of that experience. I think there's something to be said for that art form, and the movie really worked to kind of elevate what podcasting can exist as an art form, as well as a communication medium, as well as all the different things audio can do and a podcast can do. But it really is a love letter to people who really tell stories through audio.
Now, I liked. what you said at the beginning of that answer about you were talking about how podcasting has shifted more into I would almost say a low budget talk show now with in terms of it's moved away from the talk radio side of things. Now, as a punk rock fan and everything, it seems like podcasting in its infancy was kind of like the punk. What's the way to phrase this? It was more like the punk genre of audio and storytelling. Do you think the podcasting has moved away from its DIY punk roots and is now more of a corporate kind of entity, such as it was a way for most of the independents to truly tell their story, but now it's been bogged down with the celebrity culture in a way?
I think, it's someone once asked me who the villain of our movie is
Mm, that's
in
actually a
a
good point.
Q&A, and I was like, the villain is capitalism. It's really what has pushed these things to try and make more money. And once the big money came in and it really was seen as this thing like, oh, we can make money with this thing, it really pushed people to incorporate more video because you can reach a bigger audience. And that's, if you want to expand, that's where you need to go. Now, we can argue about whether that's good or bad. I mean, we can argue all day long about capitalism has some positive aspects and also has some very big blind spots. And, it would not reach as many people if you didn't have capitalism coming in and putting resources into it. But at the same time, it's always this dual edged sword when something grows to the mainstream and a lot of it gets diluted. And I think No Effects, any No Effects fans out there, there's a term in some of their songs called LCD,
Oh,
lowest common
100%.
denominator. And so things, and that happens with a lot of stuff. It's not just podcasting. It happens with music. It happens with art. It happens with movies. It happens with TV shows, where you want to reach to be able to make something profitable. You have to squish down and compress any audio engineers out there. Compress things down into the what the middle is, and where the you can reach the most amount of people. And there's something, I think even within the film, it does have a few lines where it acknowledges that by reaching the most amount of people, that's great because it's opened it up and you have more people coming in. But at the same time, when you have something that's doing that, it really kind of takes a lot of the niche and the avant-garde and the not as commercially viable things. It kind of pushes them out a little bit in chasing, profitability and return on investment. ROI, is if I can use a marketing term for my marketers out there.
Oh, wow. Throw it back to them right now. But what with everything that came with this documentary, I just love how you find a passion for a certain subject. How did you find the podcasting? How did you find that love for this genre of media? Because I know you from non-starter Caldwell's Revenge, your punk side of things. You doing the a Fat Wreck documentary. It was kind of funny to me when you're like, "Yeah, I'm doing a podcast documentary," and I'm like, I didn't even know you were into this. So,
I mean, to be honest with you, like the first proto podcasts that I listened to were, on the Fat Records website. Mike used to get into a studio with some microphones and then record some stuff, which is very much like a podcast that we can think of today. And they would put it up on their website as an MP3. Propaganda had a thing called the G7 Welcoming Committee, and they would
you're just
do
saying
some.
that because you're in the shirt right now.
Oh, and I got the poster in the background, by the way.
Super
I
fan,
didn't
bro.
realize it. I didn't realize it. No, but they had something like that, similar, where you'd go to the. I wasn't listening to it on the device; it was on the computer, and you click on the thing, and it would play it like a real player or something like that. And one of the first times that I kind of the experience of what we more think of traditional podcasts was, I think on one of I had my sisters put all their money together one Christmas and got me the iPhone, their first iPhone when it had come out,
Wow.
um, and um, and on that device you could go to This American Life's website, and because they had all their episodes where you could click a link and it would play it as an MP3, the iPhone, the original iPhone, had a QuickTime player built in, and you would click on it and it would play the episode on this mobile device. It wasn't a podcast in the way we think of it as a podcatcher. This is before RSS, but I could go to that website and I could click it and listen to a full episode. And I remember doing some things where I had the headphones, the wired headphones, and listening, mobilely to episodes of This American Life, which I had found through public radio. One of the first radio shows that I really had that audio storytelling moment with was a show called Radio Lab.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and it's one of those things where we sat in the car, had a driveway moment, and that led me to This American Life, and then being accessing their catalog. Side note, one of our producers, Ellen Horn, on the film, who came in the last 2 or 3 years of the film, was actually a co-creator of Radio Lab, which is a nice
No
little,
kidding.
yeah, which
Full
is
circle moment right there.
full circle
Yeah.
moment, full circle moment. But yeah, so it was like I had those experiences, and then it was, I think, it might have been a few years after that I figured out I didn't get I wasn't in the early iTunes, iPod, MP3 player. When most of the things I listened to on my MP3 player, when which was an iPod, I had one of the cheaper
Yeah.
ones. Um, I was putting Lagwagon records on that. I was putting LimeWire or something, or like
We were putting
like
viruses on all of our devices long
or
time
taking
before.
my
Yeah.
CDs, or taking the CDs, putting it in iTunes, and on Windows, of course. I didn't own a Mac, and downloading my CDs and putting them on an MP3 player for I think a brief period of time. I'm trying to remember the first time I used a podcatcher, even where I was actually actively listening to what would be a modern day, what we consider a podcast. Well, even though
Mm.
saying modern day, it's shifted so much now, but that traditional RSS, subscribing to an RSS, I really didn't have that particular experience personally. Mine was more like going to the website and listening to MP3s and that kind of thing. But that concept of the storytelling, talking about Radio Lab and This American Life, really opened my eyes to that form of storytelling, which I really fell in love with, and tried to find more of that. And that it was mostly a lot of public radio type things, because that was my first introduction to that kind of storytelling, and really when I fell in love with that. And in the movie, we have Jad Abumrad from Radio Lab and Ira Glass from This American Life. So I have this tendency
Which,
to
by the way,
like.
go. Ira Glass, he appears in the film. One of my favorite voices in all of reporting, podcasting, whatever you want to say. It is, go listen to This American Life. It is one of the most soothing, beautiful shows, and I absolutely love it. So we talked about Ira a little bit. This documentary has a star-studded cast. Please tell the listeners who is all in this. I mean, you have people like Kevin Smith in this bad boy and so many more.
I mean, there's a lot of podcast luminaries. If you're someone who's been in especially the narrative storytelling podcast space, there's a lot of names you might recognize. The upper top names is, like you said, Kevin Smith, Ira Glass, Marc Maron has an appearance in the film. We talk about the president coming on his podcast, so he did an interview with us, which was very nice. I mean, we did like 60 interviews, so there's like just a ton of like people that'll pop up if you've been a long time narrative podcast listener. Um, Adam Curry from MTV, who is
I mean,
turns
but
out
these
is
aren't
one of
even
the.
just podcast hosts anymore. These are almost icons. They live beyond the space now. Um,
I think if you're into these type of podcasts, these people loom very large,
I mean, you talked
that are in
about
the
Mark.
film.
Mark has a hit Netflix series, or not net series, but
Well, and
stand-up
he's no longer
special,
a
and
podcaster technically at
yeah,
this point. He's he hung up his mic as we I
he'll
guess move
be
into this.
back.
I don't know. I don't know if he'll be back into podcasting. I think he kind of, uh, you know, the they kind of did their thing and he may appear on other people's podcasts, but I feel like he made, now he has the ability to move into other areas and films and directing. And I think he's probably, doing a twice a week podcast really kind of eats up a lot of your energy and time. And I think him moving on to other things, I think it's a great thing. I don't think everything needs to last forever. I
It
think it's
doesn't.
and I think that he was able to do such a tremendous thing and really put his mark on the space. No pun intended.
God
I
damn it,
just caught
Shaun.
that after caught it after I said it. I experienced it at the same time you did. Do you do sound effects? You add sound effects? Um,
God, no,
but no,
that's too much editing time.
it's man, that's what I do. That's what I do professionally now. Like like I do, it's a sidebar, just a side quest. I'll do we do about a 45-minute long to an hour long episode at for the Anime Effect, the Crunchyroll podcast, and we do all kind of stuff within sound effects, zooms, like all the different kind of little tricks, and
It's
those
easy when
edits
you're
take
getting paid for it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I've been being paid well for it. Those
Yeah.
edits take anywhere from 8 to 12 hours per hour long episode.
How many episodes are you guys doing a week?
One a week.
That's that's still pretty impressive. That's, you know, going to that point, uh, we were saying,
I
earlier.
didn't mean to sidebar you there.
Oh no, you're good. But actually, that's kind of ingenious. 'Cause, before we were recording, we were talking about, the cost of gear going down and, kind of things becoming easier. With podcasting moving to video, like we were talking about earlier and everything, the gear has gotten severe, like way, way cheaper. The editing has gotten a little easier with kind of the AI. I know AI is this big boogeyman word, but
Do it.
if you're not making this as a living, it's a full-time job. So whatever
no,
shortcut you
it's
can take, how do you feel about the future of it right now?
well, I've tried a couple of those tools, and the type of editing that I'm doing for the Crunchyroll podcast and some other things that I'm doing, I just don't know if an AI is going to be able to handle it anytime
Mm,
soon. Um,
agreed.
because for a basic back and forth, maybe, but I'm taking out all the ums. I'm cutting for time, and I'm also editing for feel and flow. And or even with the advent of video, I'm editing for things that are happening within the frame. So as someone's gesturing or the way someone's responding back to something that was said, there's an edit where you're those tools are tremendous, but they can what all those tools are currently doing, and it may change in the future, they're transcribing and then editing to a transcription. So they're not editing to the cadence or the ups or the way someone will take a breath in before they say something, or like there's a thing that people do before they do an well, they'll breathe in, and if you're doing an edit, you need to slice things in such a way where it
Yeah.
still feels like natural. And so my goal as an editor to make it sound at all times like it's not edited, so you don't hear like a hard cut or the if someone's raising their, and it's not always simple, but if someone's raising their tone, you want to try and cut it in a way that so it makes sense. And I don't think that these AI systems have the ability to pick up on those small nuances yet. Not to say they won't ever, but as far as I've looked and I've done some research on this, they there's no editing AI system currently that's commercially available that can pick up on the emotion of the way a voice sounds. They can't pick up on sarcasm, or they can't pick
Yeah.
up on something louder or softer. It doesn't understand dynamics yet. And so I don't think that'll always be the case. I think these tools are tremendous, and I'm not an AI skeptic in the traditional sense. I'm someone who uses some of these tools and follows the space very closely. I'm not against AI tools for creativity. I am against uh, AI as creative. Like I would never do show
Complete,
posters as AI.
yeah, complete
So I,
replacement.
I'm against AI music. Like now, am I against AI going and helping clean up, a digital issues in your audio? No. Am I for AI using for if you record it in a noisy space, clearing out and separating? Am I if you have a stereo track and you want to use AI to separate those into multi tracks? And so you can pull out a vocal or do these kind of things. Say you're at a piano and you've got a great vocal thing that you did and you want to be able to recreate that, but the piano is not what you want anymore. I'm all for those types of things, but I don't think it should be used for the creative act. It's my personal opinion. Different people may agree or disagree. I think AI music is straight up trash, like me
It is.
personally. And people who claim to be AO musicians that are not people who are prompting Suno or things like that. I think that that is really disingenuous. I don't think those are. I think you can create those things for yourself, and if you want to hear an idea that you have, think go at it. I think the people who are trying to represent themselves as musicians and artists and those kind of things, I think that is trash. I think that anyone who wants to create an avatar of themselves and make a video podcast where they can just type up a script and they don't have to be film themselves doing the podcast anymore, I think that's trash. Like I think that
Yeah.
like
And you
anywhere
don't
that
have
you're
to do 12 takes where you're sat there going, fuck, God damn it, almost had it. Like, yeah, yeah.
like I said, these were my personal opinions, and everyone will have their mile. I think most of your listeners would probably agree, though. To be honest with you, I
Oh,
think
they
anyone
will.
who's listening to this is probably going to be. But like I said, those I've had people within the industry that I'm in say, "Hey, have you used this tool? It can really speed up your editing." Tried it, and man, it was a disaster. Just a disaster. Ended up costing me way more time. Some of those tools can infect your Premiere and slow them
Mhm.
down, and some really infect some of your stuff. And their edits are trash. And it doesn't really save any time because you're like I said, those nuances of editing for dynamics and what someone's doing on screen, the way they're looking, who they're looking at, if they're scratching their nose, what camera do you cut to? The AI doesn't know if at this point, once again at this point, because I know it's moving tremendously fast, doesn't know if someone's like picking their nose. Sorry, you're gonna have to edit me picking my nose, right? Right.
Oh no,
um,
that's the cover for the episode.
I love it, but you get what I'm saying. These are small things that at this point it can do very blocky stuff. But then you're going to have to go back and work on it. And it's like, this is what I've said about AI and my experience with it. I use it for me personally, I can't sit down and type an email. But what I love to
Yes.
be able to do is talk out an email and just be able to talk it out. And then I'll have maybe like a Claude still in my own voice, using all the words I use, but taking out all the ums and things I said and put it into something concise where I can just kind of like talk out what I want to say to someone and then put it in a format that isn't going to stress someone out having to read, if that makes sense. But
ADD on
it's
paper.
taking exactly, and it'll sometimes add words that I would never use, and I'm like, no, I don't want you to change how I'm saying it. I just want you to to take out the things, and so I'll use it for things like that because I can sit and talk out a concept, or if I want to like brainstorm an idea, I can sit down and just fully just bleh, dump out a ton of like ideas and let my brain just kind of like go into that flow state and just be thinking about this. I'm gonna grab this idea and go off into this other tangent, and then have it say, okay, what did I just say? Like, and then give it to me in bullet points what I just said. And so I find it to be useful for those kind of things. So I don't want to shit on like I know there's
No.
some people who are there's AI absolutists, and the use
Well,
of
I
water.
I do have to ask just because, it seems like AI is moving faster in the podcast space than a lot of other creative spaces. Programs like Riverside, Opus Clip, all these kind of things, even Zoom is using a
Well,
lot of AI
I'll say this
features.
right now.
Yeah.
Opus Clip is amazing, dude.
Oh, yeah. For me that
Oh,
has no marketing team or, I got a full-time
for
day
me,
job. I can't do this all day,
I have another job because of Opus Clip.
Yeah.
And I'll say this about Opus Clip. Opus Clip is one of those things that and this is maybe my own justification for it, because I've had.
Just a quick clarification for the listeners that have no idea. Opus Clip is basically a long form compression AI video editor that you put a long form video into, such as a long YouTube clip or this interview. We put it directly into that program. It will use its algorithm to figure out what is the most viral sentences spoken, and it'll create social media clips that can be used.
Here's what I'll say. I started using it about, about almost a year ago, about October. I think it's tremendous, because I think what it's doing is taking the things that you've already created and presenting to you what it thinks is good. Now, I will also say you can't go by that score. Some of the biggest viral things that I've ever had were very low on its little score deal. It's making a best guess, and that's where I think
You
it's the
still
human.
have to come in as a director, as a creative, and know what's going to make your audience happy. You
You
can't leave it to the algorithm. Like,
and you have to go in and kind of massage it a little bit. And some of its
mm,
edits are kind of
put some
weird, so you kind of
B-roll
have to
in there,
massage it.
Gross.
And like what it picks and might be too long, or that sentence that starts up is kind of weird. So you're still spending time, but it's and this gets me back to what I was going to say. AI to me right now is like having very fast, very enthusiastic, but very dumb assistant.
It's every PA. It's,
It's like they don't not, so you have to direct and manage everything it's doing, but it can do what it's doing very fast. It can cut up those slices of that thing in, like, 10 minutes of an entire movie and give you what it thinks is the best clips. But you still have to go and say, nah, that's not that one. No. Okay, that one's good, but you need to do this. Okay, that's great, but that it close up doesn't make any sense. You're off there. That needs to be adjusted. So it's like having an assistant who's, like I said, very fast, very enthusiastic, but not very smart. And that and so it really creates, you have to work it. And I find those tools, like, I mean, I'm on the verge of a second career because of Opus Clip. Some of the stuff that I've been able to do with it, in the marketing side, and really understanding clipping, and that whole space. Clipping is if anyone's looked
yeah.
into it, clipping is everyone is experiencing clipping. That's what you're watching all the time, all day, every day. TikTok, Shorts, YouTube Shorts, Reels. Almost everything you're watching is clipping, and it's when you start diving into that industry, it's a whole industry. It's the new marketing industry. It's
100%.
it, Forget about paid ads, dude. Paid ads are trash, because now you can get, you know millions of views on things through clipping. And the way I justify it to myself is that
Yes,
you
please
need to,
tell us how we rip everyone off. Yeah.
well, it's not ripping it. If you're
Yeah.
creating the content and you're using a tool to be able to slice it up and dish it out to people, um, the algorithms are designed to put things in front of people who want to see it. So the whole idea, and I learned this with our band. I started learning TikTok and Reels and stuff for our band, Sam Calls Revenge, and started, taking pieces of our songs, finding the pieces that people like the most, and then just like posting those pieces over and over again with
Why
me
did
lip
I love
syncing
it?
in front of them.
Why did I love the ones of you shopping? You were just at like a Tom Thumb or something and you're pushing your cart, like singing along to your song. I'm like, why do I love this fucking clip? It just works.
And that's the thing. It's like I found from doing that, and I found a guy who was in a band. His philosophy was like, don't do skits, don't try and reinvent the wheel, don't do all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. What you're trying to do is get people to listen to your music. And every time you post a clip, you're posting it to a brand new audience. Don't think of it, you're not going to
Hmm.
ever tire anyone out. Think of it every time you post, you're posting to a whole brand new of people. It's the first time they're going to see you. And also every time you post, you're pulling the slots wheel.
Yeah,
Like
100%. You
and
you do have to be honest though, because
oh,
the
I mean,
audience
it's
will see
honest.
right through a fucking fake character. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like I
Yeah.
want people like with our band. It was like, how can I want people just to listen to the song. If they don't like it, they'll flick up.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? They'll move on. I don't like this. Boom. Because I know, and then the people who do like it, they'll linger or they'll comment or they'll like it. And then they'll get more of it. And then what's wrong with that? What's wrong with these algorithms sending you the stuff that you want to see theoretically, in
Yeah.
theory? And then with that kind of thing in mind, I started doing it with clips of a fat wreck. And the fat wreck, boom, I'm, hitting, you know, 25,000, 150,000, getting
I
like the most people, the most amount of interest in the film in almost 7 years. Like tremendous. The number one on Documentary Plus for weeks in a row. Like
That's
people
fucking
buying and
incredible.
renting the film, people, watching the film. We have it for free. We have people who can pay for it and rent for it. People buy and rent it. People are buying the DVDs. We sold out of the VHSs. And it was from this clipping thing where I'm choosing the clips. I'm picking these things out, and then I'm just posting them, like, and with that kind of thing in mind. That who, there's how many fans of Fat Records out there? Maybe like 400 or 500
Me,
million. I
me.
mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what the number is specifically, but maybe there's 500 million fans out there total worldwide. Still people are still learning about the movie, just people have never heard of it because there's so much stuff going on. So my philosophy is like,
Are-
this is getting to the people who want to know about it. And then from that, now I've been working with another company helping with some of their films. And I just had a clip. We were hitting like I think in 3 days it's hit 1.6 million views and drove a tremendous amount of traffic to their website. And it's a tremendous tool. And I think
well,
using it's kind of like capitalism. You should use the tools available to you, but always be authentic, and be honest and not try to be shitty. But there's tons of people out there that are shitty that are doing this. Why not
yeah,
be some of the people
100%.
who aren't shitty?
Yeah, I
Anyway,
mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, you're good. We went way off on the AI tangent there, but it's important in this industry to think about it. But you
Bring
were
it back,
mentioning
baby.
Fat
Bring it
Wreck.
back.
Well, oh,
Bring it
we're
back.
bringing it back because you were talking about Fat Wreck and everything like that, and going back and how it's popular again. Now the
And to
one
10
of
year
the
anniversary
only
this year.
hey, congratulations, and
In November, it's 10 years. Yeah.
damn. So with that one, the you won at the South Africa Film Festival the best what am I
On
trying to say?
track.
Soundtrack, right? And I know you
I
said
mean,
in a previous interview with me, you were like, it feels like cheating because it was a bunch of fat wreck, hits put on an album. Now, was now this new the age of audio? Was it so much harder compiling a score for that movie versus like, ooh, I've got all the fat wreck tracks. Now it's like, oh shit, I've actually got to think about like a real score to go with this.
super easy.
Wow. All right. Well, that question was fucking dumb. So anyway,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah.
it wasn't dumb. I was gonna go into detail. I was gonna, um, so there's this artist called Breakmaster Cylinder, and they've done music for,
So many
let's
podcasts
see,
like
so
weird
many
history
podcasts.
something was it they did
I mean,
side door.
it's a huge, the big one was Reply All. They did Side Door. They've done, they do the Verge podcast, their song, just a
I
lot.
fucking
There's a
love side
tremendous
door, by the
amount.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I reached out to Breakmaster Cylinder, who was just a weirdo in the best way. Like, and we we send back text messages and messages with like a bunch of shrimp. It's like it's like amazing. And their music, they're so talented, and they have so many different genres that they pull in. They're classically trained, but they pull in like electronic music and punk music and classical music and pianos and all these kind of things, and really create this
It
thing that
reminds
I
me of
think.
like early Crystal Method a little bit.
But if you like, when I got there, when I asked them for the film that I wanted to use their music, they sent me their entire thing, and like it is so vast what can do. I mean, it's so vast, but they do have some kind of a unique, like, I think a modern kind of cut up. A lot of stuff like cut up and digital and like different little like it's so intricate, but it's so unique. And I knew right from the beginning of the film that I wanted that to be the vibe of the of a lot of stuff, because I also wanted Today Explained uses a lot of their stuff. One a great podcast, and I wanted to use non-exclusive stuff so that some people who recognize some of these songs from other podcasts. Turns out Ronald Young Jr. uses Break Master Cylinder for the intro of his. That's our
Wow.
host of the film, and that is I just knew that track so well from using it and using it in the film before I even met Ronald.
I'm
And
glad you
so,
brought up Ronald though, because I do want to talk about him before the end of the interview.
sure, and I'll wrap this up in the sense that so we are able to do that and use a lot of Break Master Cylinders tracks. I think there's like maybe 20 tracks. I think 18 to 20 tracks on the film. There's and then Hannes Brown, who is an original composer, also did the mix and helped with the sound design of the film. They did some original scoring as well. And, they're also in that podcast world, and they're very super talented musician, and was also able to, because of some of the stuff we got from Breakmaster Cylinder was broken down into its tracks. They were able to kind of combine some of the stuff that Breakmaster Cylinder was doing with some of their own original scoring, combining it into something that's a unique thing in certain areas of the film. So for those, so there's original scoring for some of those downs of for the emotional pieces and some of those beats, and even some original sound design things like that. And then the combination of that and Breakmaster Cylinder really composed most of the soundscape of the film, which really gives you a very podcast for the people who know. It's like the layers thing. It's like it's deep layers. Like those things, some people will definitely recognize who are deep podcast fans will recognize. Oh my gosh, I know that. I've heard that before. I've heard that
Oh
before.
yeah.
So like so yeah. So that's I think I wish it would win best soundtrack. I think Breakmaster Cylinder deserves as much attention as they can.
Hey, got to put it. Hey, you gotta put it in for the consideration. Now,
They have a Bandcamp. Go to Breakmaster Cylinder and check out their Bandcamp. And there's just like a tremendous amount of music on that as well. So just a plug in them as much as I could.
hey, you got to. So your film contains kind of, it's not just about the history of podcasting. That's kind of what we made it seem almost. There is a hero in all of this. Who is your hero in this? Because if you watch the trailer, you can kind of see the weight of it. Is that, I believe, his podcast?
Wait for it.
Wait for it. That's it. So yeah, please tell us about the hero of your film.
So Ronald Young Jr. is a tremendous talent who, amongst other podcasts, he has a podcast also called Leaving the Theater, which is a theater review podcast that he pretty much tapes his reviews as he's leaving the theater with him and or sometimes a guest, and it's an immediate reaction. It's a great podcast, 10 to 15 maybe 10 to 15 minutes tops, so you get a really good sense of the film. Highly recommend go check that out. But he had been in the space for a while, but he developed this podcast called Wait For, which is a podcast, a narrative story podcast about weight. And there's one episode where he secretly tapes his doctor when he's in for a physical, and the horrible things that the doctor's saying to him that are really offensive to someone who's, of a heavier type person, and give you an example of what some of these people can, some of people who are on the heavier side can go through going through the world. But also he talks about times in his life when he was thinner and judged people of weight, maybe someone he was dating, not maybe he did. There's an episode where he talks about that. Weight, I think, I'm messing up the title, but it's like the first or second episode of the first season. And really, he's very vulnerable in the series. Um, He's also the host of the series. So it's him going through these different stories about weight and the different aspects, the way our culture looks upon it and all those kind of things. But then he's also the host, and it's done well with sound design, and it's narratively done very well, and the way the storytelling's very much in the vein of This American Life and some of the great narrative storytelling podcasts. And uh, throughout the making of Age of Audio, we had a couple different subjects that we were following. And because the film took about 7 years, during that time, we had people that we followed and then had to bow out for different reasons. And really, Ronald came in the last, I think it was 2023 when I connected with him, but only 3 years ago. And I'd been hearing about him. It's just kind of in the ether of podcasting. He was on someone that I consider a good, excellent podcaster. Um, was on their podcast, and so I was like, oh, I just kind of it was in my brain. And on our website, because we had one of our subjects bow out, I put on our website that we are looking for an independent podcast. We want to follow for the film. Here, sign up. Tell us why you would be a good subject. We only want independent people. And when I was going through that list, we had a decent amount of submissions, but one of those people was Ronald. Oh, Ronald submitted to this? Okay. And I reached out and we connected, and I was going to be at this conference called Resonate and happened to be where he lived. And so we were able to like meet in person right away. And it just felt like this kismet thing. Also, at the same time, all this is happening. He he had agreed to do the film. He had premiered his podcast at Tribeca earlier that year in March. It had been picked up by Radiotopia, which is a big part of the documentary. And after he had committed to being in the film, he then was on the New York Times Best Podcast list, Vulture, and I think a
Damn.
few other outlets. And then he was up for, multiple awards for the Ambies, which is kind of like the Oscars for podcasts.
Oh, I
And
loved that clip in your trailer where he wins like another ambient, just gets up there and goes, I'm not gonna lie, this feels real good.
yeah, so like it just happened to be where he was in this moment of this big upswing. We could really capture a lot of what was happening in the moment, which is something I really had always wanted for the documentary. I didn't want it just to be sit down history of podcasting. I wanted there to be an aspect of fly on the wall, cinema verite aspect where we're following something that's happening in the moment. So it just turned out that we were very, very lucky. And um, originally I was going to have someone else be the host of the documentary, but Ellen Horn, who is the co-creator of Radio Lab, when she came on, she's like, Ronald has to be the host, right? And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Because now we're doing this meta thing where he's the host of this podcast documentary where he's the subject, which is what he is on his podcast, but
Oh,
also like
interesting.
it like has all these things, and he's just so charismatic, and he just he's got the great voice. And it just really all kind of came together in the last 3 years of working on the film, where we really kind of locked in. I mean, a major part of what the film ended up becoming. I would say, it's essentially half of the film ended up
So you
being those last
basically
three
done
years.
you've done a Don Quixote where the second book of Don Quixote is like just a complete meta piece of art.
Yeah, it's. I always wanted it to have a meta aspect to it because the film I didn't want it to be like a regular documentary. I wanted to incorporate narrative podcasting aspects into it. And one of the great things about working with Ellen Horn as our story editor, because she had worked in narrative podcasting for 25 years, her process she had never done a film before. So her process was really rooted in what they would have done with Radio Lab and any other type of narrative podcasting, the way they would produce it, which is iterating. Which is we had essentially a quote unquote script for the documentary, which was the transcription of all the interviews that were in the film, as well as all the written pieces for Ronald. And a lot of the editing was done on that script where we would go and she would make edits on the script, and then I would take that and I would make those in the film edit version of that. And we
Oh,
probably did
wow.
about 108 versions.
I believe it. I believe it.
It, we,
That's just
like
filmmaking. It's always changing.
some of those are smaller changes and things like that, but and some were major. We kind of reorganized things, and but really it was done in that process, and that's how they would have done a narrative driven podcast like Radio Lab back in the day, and that's how they would work on their scripts. They would work on the scripts, and then they would, you know, record things and then bring it back in script form and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so it really adopted that aspect, and also the way we had Ronald as our host, opposed to a narrator. And I'm using the word host because we introduce him as the host of the film, which is something that is not initially spoken that way in a lot of documentaries. You usually have a narrator, but they're not the host. And then when we filmed with Ronald for a lot of his stuff, for people who haven't seen the film yet, because it's not out for public consumption just yet. Um, we filmed just his mouth and the side of his face. You're not really getting his eyes; you're getting him right up to the microphone, very close. A lot of our interviews are very claustrophobically close. We did close and closer, like it's a close up and then an extreme close up, where we're always kind of focused on the mouth and the ears, and we're trying to visually represent, give a representation of the intimacy of what a podcast is
Well, because it took you
visually.
7 years to film this, correct?
Well, COVID really, there was about 2 years we were not, 2.5 years, almost 3 years we weren't filming in that because of COVID.
So like five, so call it five then. Like in that time, you know, not just podcasting changed, but so did a lot of the documentary film styling because of, what Netflix started doing and all that kind of stuff. How did you guys have to kind of evolve with the timeline? Because obviously, a documentary is not like a scripted piece where you've got 8 weeks of filming and then it's done. You with the documentary, you really do have to stick with it until the story is shot. So,
And
did you guys have to do any evolving in that time, the 5 year time span?
well, even from the beginning, I didn't want it to look like a traditional documentary. I didn't want it to look like sit in the chair, the background. Um, it may be controversial. I haven't seen too much pushback on it, to be honest with you. But with Joelle, there's rules you're supposed to follow when you're making film, and you're really
I
not
swear,
supposed to
you
be.
you
You,
can't
you really
do.
you don't want to be this close for too long, usually because it makes people feel uncomfortable to have like things super close. So there was I got pushback early on saying, "Hey, you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "No, I want to commit to it. I want to commit to this style, and I have a reason for it. It's not just to do it. It's but it also automatically makes it look different. It doesn't look like a regular. It looks a little different than a regular documentary because we did close and extreme close. I think it's
Mhm.
mostly, mostly this or like this. For those who are listening, I'm putting my face very, very close to the
Well,
camera.
did you do that? I mean, I know you did it intentionally, but did you do that because podcasting is such an intimate kind of art form because it is a conversation between only a
No,
couple of people, so that camera work kind of makes it way more intimate.
that was the thought process. Um, it was definitely something I wanted to do something visually different than what we had done with a fat wreck. I absolutely didn't
Well,
want to
that was your
repeat
first
myself. I
one. We
wanted,
always make mistakes on our first one that we go back and we're like, fuck, I wish I would have done that differently.
I mean, some of that is true for some aspects, but I think the way it's filmed looks great, and the way the interviews are shot is great. Someone sitting in a chair in the fat record store, the records behind them, and then we're doing some close ups and things like that. But like, and you're doing that wide and your mid for our filmmakers out there. Um, but with this one, I didn't want it to look like that movie, so I wanted to do something different. I really wanted to get super radical with it, but we kind of came to a middle ground that wasn't too off-putting. Because I was like, why don't we film people's feet? why, why don't we just get one eyeball? Like what, like one tooth. Let's focus on one tooth. Like let's get the inside of their ear. Like no one wants to see that. Like so like there was definitely a thought process where I wanted it to visually look different, but then landing on that, hey, let's do this close up thing because it creates that intimacy, or visual intimacy that we're trying to do. So yeah, so that was definitely intentional. People who see the movie can decide if that worked. To be honest with you, we've had a lot of reviews at this point, and I maybe heard maybe an inkling that someone has said something about it, but almost no one said anything about it at this point. So I think we pulled off what we were trying to do um, in
Hey,
that
well,
regard.
I mean
Go ahead,
that
please.
is great. I mean that's fantastic that you were able to do that because it does give it an originality. It gives it something different. Now, last question for you, dude, because I do have to wrap this interview up here, man. Two features under your belt now. What's next? Is there a third feature in the works? Because I know it's going to take you
Oh.
7 years to film another.
No, I think like right now, I really and the film still hasn't come out, so there's still some behind the scenes work that have to be done to get it out. It should be coming out relatively soon.
But it's been on the
It's
festival circuit. It's not like it's just, in a back shelf somewhere kind of thing.
No, and we're still doing screenings. We're doing some educational screenings, and I stopped booking screening because I wanted to focus on getting it out, and then also starting to move on to new things. I wasn't able to do a lot of music because the movie just took up so much energy, and I really couldn't take on any kind of real work in that regard. And now, like I said, I've found, at the beginning you were talking about how like there's no money. There's not really a lot of money in doing independent films or
No,
podcasting.
really? Never would have known that one.
But from the film, I ended up getting a gig with. First, it was with Sony, doing some audio stuff for Crunchyroll, doing this, and then now I'm work with them more directly and helping them produce, being the audio visual producer and working with a showrunner. Have a lot more creative input, and I've been there for a while. It's been almost 18 months. They've said, "Hey, we got other shows we would like to do. Are you interested in helping with some of these other shows?" And then other people that I've connected with that I'm now piloting some uh, people who have podcasts that want to do more stuff on YouTube, and I'm able to bridge that gap between podcast and visual. So I have the skill sets. So now, like a lot of my career is kind of going into podcast production, and like really found ended up getting jobs in that world, which is great. And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And then also from the marketing of Fat Wreck and learning how to use those tools and kind of having an understanding of how this new world works. Have some many new opportunities coming that way. Um, uh, I've been working very closely with Documentary Plus to help promote some of their films, and
Hey, hopefully
may
this
lead
one's
to.
sooner rather than later.
Oh no, it will. I can't say anything specific, but very likely things will be happening with someone like them, if not them. Uh, and yeah, so like it's led to this place where I'm finally starting to make some actual money. I was an Uber driver for 10 years as I was working on the film and slightly before it. And I've hung up my keys to Uber. I'm no longer doing Uber anymore because I'm just so in demand with doing creative things in this other place.
Congratulations,
And
dude.
that is, and not that's not anything bad about Uber. I don't want to throw any shade on anyone who's doing that. That's a
No, it's
great.
it's not the dream though.
No, it's supposed to be a way to make money while I was working on the movie, and now through the film and different aspects of the film, it's led to other opportunities that are now proving to be much more lucrative, and also let me be creative and do a lot of editing and production and producing and having creative input, and also doing things that I like to do, like marketing. Marketing is fun when it works. But also some potential opportunities. I'll say this: the only way at this point I would do another documentary is if it's fully funded upfront and I'm being hired as a director and I get to direct, and I'm not the one having to worry about where the money's going to come from. And I have the ability to hire an editor, give money to someone like Joel Herrera, who was our cinematographer, Age of Audio, and pay these people without having to try to bootstrap everything from the bottom. I definitely would love to make more films in the context of the creative side of it. I've definitely done like being poor. Or not
Why do
even
you think I
I'm okay with
got out
being
of doing television? I was sick of being poor. What do you think?
like I don't like I don't I'm not trying to be rich. I just want to be able to not have to worry about paying my rent and
Yeah.
being able to spend time with friends and family, and with working on the film and doing the thing was pretty much either I was working on the film or doing this other thing, and it really limited my time on everything else, especially toward in the last couple of years trying to get the film over the finish line. It was really like it was really demanding. So right now, I'm just really looking forward to seeing what opportunities present themselves. Especially people seem to like the film. Um, there's I the short films that I would like to do on in the narrative side. A script for a short that I want to first drafts that I would like to get that off the ground, and have where it's not a money thing. It's just something I could. And also, I've been when I'm not sure when this will come out, but at this point in time, the Oak Cliff Film Festival is right around the corner. I have time now to
I think
volunteer with the film festival.
not this week, but I think it'll be next week's episode.
So if you're listening to this, the Oak Cliff Film Festival may be ongoing or
What
have
are the
just
dates on
passed.
that?
I think it's the 30th.
Of July?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's past.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's right.
like
That's this week.
yeah, that's
So
this
yeah,
week. Yeah.
so you can edit this. So last week, when the Oak Cliff Film Festival, I was able to volunteer with the festival and kind of be around more of the events that they have going on and be more a part of the communities. I felt like when I was working on the film, it was, you know, I I want to be more involved in the community, but it was like I couldn't go out to everything because I was like I either needed to be working on the film or I needed to drive to make sure I was able to make my rent that month, that kind of thing. So it was always just like, trying to make those choices. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to, you know, being paid for the skill sets that I've developed over these last 10 years, and see what comes of it. It's really fun. Like I said, I'm being paid to make a pilot where I'm pretty much charge of making it happen, which is very exciting and fun. We'll see how that plays out. And but I would not have been able to do that a year ago because I would have said I'm working on this movie. So it's so I hope so. I would love to do more music videos and fun stuff that doesn't need to make money. So
Yeah.
I think it may be a while before I have a feature, I would say.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got to get going, but rapid fire real quick. Don't even think about it. What's your favorite podcast currently?
No, not even thinking about it.
You're thinking about
The
it.
film cast.
Filmcast. Perfect. Everybody, thank you so much for watching the episode today. My guest has been Shaun Michael Colón, the director of A Fat Wreck and Age of Audio, his new documentary that is out. You can find A Fat Wreck streaming right now. The link will be below in the description. Otherwise, I strongly recommend you check out Samuel Caldwell's Revenge. They are an amazing hardcore punk group out of Dallas, Fort Worth that are absolutely fucking amazing. Shaun is a multi-talented person. I love you so much for coming on the show again. Dude, can't wait to hang out with you again and see the documentary. Fun fact, me and my wife's mouths are in it. you'll have to figure that out for yourselves. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Shaun. I appreciate you, bud.
Austin Young Show. Austin Young Show. Austin Young Show.